faith to our tiny disciples, which I would say is ages 1 to 8, we have to back up and address some of the things that prevent us from discipling in the first place. Because I believe that God respects our minds and bodies. He isn't just looking at our souls. He isn't just looking at our spirituality. Our spirituality is actually connected to how we live our lives in the day-to-day, how we live our lives in our bodies, how we think. It's all connected to our spirit, to our soul. And the same is true for our children. So let's look at this holistically. I'm going to share with you how to create sustainable routines so you can begin your day with intention, create life-giving rhythms that refresh you as you are with your kids, disciple your kids as you discipline, educate rather than just respond, and teach your kids the elemental truths of Christ as you go about your day. Now, as I'm sharing this, you might actually hear my own kids in the background because they're out in the living room playing while my husband is working for the ministry. So this is a very real-time example of what I'm trying to teach. We're juggling a lot over here. So let's start with creating sustainable routines. Routines reduce decision fatigue. And if you are a parent, I'm sure you've had decision fatigue. We have so many little decisions we have to make during the day, what to make for lunch, when to do this, when to do that, how to deal with specific behaviors, how to discipline. And all of these decisions make us exhausted. They make us tired. So routines reduce that decision fatigue and give us the ability and freedom to do the things that matter most, to make better decisions, to have time to disciple. So these routines are automatic habitual motions of our day that we go through with our children. And when we do them enough, we don't even have to think about them anymore. They're built into the day. So some examples for our home would be our morning routine. I get up, get dressed, I work out, read my Bible, pray, shower, and then start making breakfast with my kids. That's just automatic. That's generally speaking the way I go about my morning. Your routine might look different. Chores routine. Around 9 o'clock every day, we endeavor to start our chores as a family. Each child has a little list, and then I have a zone of the house to clean and a load of laundry to do. And I do that almost every day of the week. And the reason for that is I don't want to do it on the weekends. Again, your routines might be different, but I want to do a load of laundry every day so that I don't get behind on the weekends. I can just relax and not think about that at that point. I also want to get it done early in the day so I don't have to think about it and I can go about my day with a lot more ease. My school routine, we homeschool, so we're starting school about 10 o'clock and it goes till about 12:30 because my kids are really young. You don't have to do school for more than 2 hours or so. So we sit down at 10 and then we do our schoolwork for the next 2 hours until lunch. And so that is, again, it's a routine. The kids see 10 o'clock and they know this is when we transition. It's automatic. This general order of events isn't rigid. We're not like, oh my gosh, it's 9 o'clock, we have to be doing this. No, it's a general movement through the day. And because it's so automatic now, our kids even know, okay, we had breakfast, now we move into chores, and then we move into our reading and school time at 12:30. We start lunch, and then after that is quiet time from 1 to 3. And that's when I begin my work. This rhythm and routine of the day is not, super rigid. I go over it on Sundays, which I'll get to in a minute, to kind of think through, okay, what do we have on the calendar this week? What appointments do we have? What meetings do we have? Are we seeing anyone? Are we going on a trip? How can we work that into our general routine and rhythm with the children? You can write this out where you can see it, but I do highly recommend creating some kind of routine for your family. And the reason is this: discipline leads to freedom. And what I mean by discipline is choosing to create a structure where you can thrive. The reason it leads to freedom is that it's not super rigid, but it frees you from having to make all these instantaneous decisions throughout the day. And you don't have to go, okay, what do I do next? What do I do next? Your mind is then freed to have those conversations with your kids, to talk with them as you go about chores. Mom, why do we work? I remember one question my girls had was, well, why do we work? Why did Adam and Eve sin so we had to work? And it was a great conversation about the fact that actually work existed before the fall into sin. Work is a good thing. God works and then he rests. That's a theological conversation where you're discipling your child as you are going about your day with them. This is the kind of discipleship that Moses was talking about. You're talking about God and directing them toward God in the context of daily life. Be okay when you're setting up your routines with setting boundaries. I think the biggest thing we have to remember is that when we don't have boundaries with ourselves or even with other people, our home life can become just stretched so thin. We're saying yes to so many people and so many things. We don't realize we can actually say no and set the boundary and say, you know what, from 8 in the morning till 1 p.m., I'm home. And I'm home because I want to create an environment where I can actually get the stuff done that needs to get done. And after that, then I'm free. Setting those boundaries and telling other people who want to do play dates, hey, you know what? I'm only available between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. because that's what works for me. Whatever it is, being able to set boundaries so that your routines can thrive and you have the attention and focus and freedom to disciple your children effectively. In my home, I will actually hang a sign on the door if I need to during my school hours, 10 to 1, schooling time. I can't talk. I can't answer the door. I even have an autoresponder on my phone where if someone texts me during those hours, they will get an auto response that says I'm either working or homeschooling and I can't, talk to you right now. Even if you're not a homeschooler, you can do this to have that time, whatever part of your day it is, to focus on your home life and your home culture. I would also add a quick thing about play dates because I'm talking about really young children. Around the ages of, I think my girls were 5 and 3, I actually stopped doing play dates. And that might sound like, why would you do that? But for me, because I was working and because I really saw that we were being pulled a lot of directions and it was interrupting the flow of our day, I just realized, you know what? Play dates aren't really a productive thing for us. It takes 2 hours out of my day when I could be, doing chores with my kids in the home. We could be reading. We could be going out and doing something, a field trip. They might be napping. It was just very disruptive to our day. So I just stopped doing play dates completely. And instead I would invite a child over, just the child, to visit and hang out with my girls. And then I wasn't obligated to be talking to someone that whole time. I could just observe the children playing. I've also taken breaks from play dates and instead done evening get-togethers with other moms. And I've done field trips on weekends or things like that to create space that I needed. I needed margin. And so I was not afraid to create that. There were tons of other ways to see our friends at church on Sunday, our homeschool group, evenings, mornings, the occasional inviting of another child over, instead of running everywhere every day of the week. So again, that's just a preference for me. But what I want to encourage you is create routines that make your home life easier and make you able to have those conversations with your kid and not be stressed out all the time. Don't feel obligated to say yes to everybody who invites you to do something. Don't feel obligated to be running all over the place during the day. Create the boundaries you need to create a home culture that is thriving and peaceful because you get to strive for that.